8 Real Serial Killers. 8 Twisted Minds. No fiction, only disturbing truth. These stories will haunt you forever. Right now, I challenge you. You've got just 3 seconds to subscribe to the channel. Only 1% of viewers actually manage to do it in time. Are you one of them? 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Albert Fish. Albert Fish. Albert Fish, also known as the Gray Man or Brooklyn Vampire, was an American serial killer active in the early 20th century. Born in 1870, he developed sadistic and cannibalistic urges from a young age. Fish targeted children, luring them into his home under false pretenses. He would torture, murder, and in some cases eat his victims. His most infamous crime was the murder of Grace Budd in 1928, which he later detailed in a disturbing letter to her family. Fish claimed to have murdered several other children across various states, though only a few could be confirmed. He was arrested in 1934 after detectives traced the letter he sent to Grace's mother. His trial shocked the nation due to the extreme depravity of his crimes. Despite evidence of mental illness, Fish was found sane and sentenced to death. He was executed in the electric chair at Sing Sing Prison in 1936. His case remains one of the most disturbing in U.S. history. Carl Panzram. Carl Panzram. Carl Panzram was an American serial killer, rapist, and arsonist active during the early 1900s. Born in 1891, he had a violent and troubled childhood, marked by abuse and time in reformatories. He claimed responsibility for over 20 murders and the sexual assault of hundreds of boys and men. Panzram was driven by hatred for humanity, often stating he felt no remorse for his crimes. He traveled extensively across the U.S., committing murders, robberies, and acts of arson. One of his earliest confirmed murders occurred in Angola in 1920, where he shot a man he had hired as a guide. He later admitted to killing sailors and young boys, often describing the acts in graphic detail. In 1928, he was arrested for burglary and eventually confessed to many of his crimes while in custody. During his trial, he rejected any form of defense and demanded the death penalty. Panzram was executed by hanging in 1930. His autobiography, written in prison, provides chilling insights into a remorseless mind. Robert Hansen. Robert Hansen. Robert Hansen, known as the Butcher Baker, was an Alaskan serial killer active during the 1970s and early 1980s. A quiet bakery owner by day, he secretly hunted women in the Alaskan wilderness. Hansen abducted women, often sex workers, then flew them in his private plane to remote locations, where he released and hunted them like prey. Born in 1939, Hansen had a troubled upbringing and developed violent fantasies early on. His criminal activities escalated from arson and theft to kidnapping and murder. Authorities believe he killed at least 17 women, though he claimed more. He was eventually caught in 1983 after one victim escaped and led police to his hideout. A search of his property revealed aviation maps with marked burial sites and items belonging to missing women. Hansen was sentenced to 461 years in prison without parole. He died of natural causes in 2014. His case remains one of the most chilling examples of organized and methodical serial killing in U.S. history. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos was a rare example of a female serial killer in the United States. Born in 1956, she led a troubled life filled with abuse, abandonment, and homelessness. In 1989 and 1990, she murdered 7 men in Florida. Wuornos claimed the killings were in self-defense during attempted sexual assaults, as she had been working as a sex worker at the time. Her victims were typically middle-aged men whom she shot at close range. She stole their vehicles and belongings, which eventually helped law enforcement link her to the crimes. Wuornos was arrested in 1991 and quickly confessed. Her trial received massive media attention, portraying her as both a cold-blooded killer and a tragic figure shaped by trauma. She was convicted and sentenced to death. Despite appeals and documentaries raising questions about her mental health and the fairness of her trial, Wuornos was executed by lethal injection in 2002. Her story remains one of the most complex and controversial among American serial killer cases. Israel Keyes. Israel Keyes. Israel Keyes was an American serial killer who operated with chilling precision and secrecy. Born in 1978, he served in the U.S. Army before beginning his violent crimes. Unlike most serial killers, Keyes had no specific victim profile. He murdered men and women of varying ages and backgrounds across the United States. What made him especially terrifying was his method. He buried kill kits across the country, boxes filled with weapons, tools, and materials to dispose of bodies. Years later, he'd return, select a random victim, and use the kit to carry out the crime. He is known to have murdered at least 3 people, including Samantha Koenig, an 18-year-old barista in Alaska, whose abduction and murder were particularly brutal. After his arrest in 2012, Keyes confessed to more crimes but refused to name all victims. He committed suicide in jail before trial, leaving behind a chilling note and a sketch of skulls. Authorities believe his victim count could be much higher. Kemper. Ed Kemper. Edmund Kemper, nicknamed the Co-Ed Killer, is a convicted American serial killer active in the early 1970s. Born in 1948 in California, Kemper had a highly dysfunctional childhood and a deeply antagonistic relationship with his mother, which would influence his crimes. Standing 6 feet 9 inches, he used his physical strength to overpower his victims. His first murders were committed at age 15, when he killed his grandparents. After being released from a mental institution at 21, he began killing again, this time targeting female college students. Kemper picked up hitchhikers, murdered them, and often mutilated their bodies. He later confessed to the killings in chillingly calm interviews. In 1973, he murdered his mother and her best friend, then turned himself in to police. He was found sane and sentenced to life in prison. Remarkably, he has since cooperated with criminologists, offering detailed insights into the mind of a killer. Kemper remains incarcerated to this day and is considered one of the most intelligent and self-aware serial killers on record. Rodney Alcala. Rodney Alcala. Rodney Alcala, dubbed the dating game killer, was a convicted American serial killer who committed multiple murders between 1971 and 1979. Born in 1943, he had a high IQ and studied fine arts at UCLA. He even appeared on the TV show The Dating Game in 1978, while actively killing. Alcala used charm and photography to lure young women and girls. He posed as a professional photographer, offering modeling opportunities, and then assaulted and murdered his victims. His known crimes include at least 8 confirmed murders, but authorities believe the real number could be over 100. He kept trophies, photos of his victims, many of whom remain unidentified. He was finally caught in 1979 and received the death penalty, though he remained on death row for decades due to appeals and retrials. He died in prison in 2021. Alcala's case is infamous for how long he evaded capture, and the shocking fact that he killed while being portrayed on national television as a normal bachelor. Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader, known as the BTK Killer, bind, torture, kill, was one of the most elusive serial killers in American history. Between 1974 and 1991, he murdered 10 people in Wichita, Kansas, targeting entire families as well as individual victims. Rader taunted police and media with letters detailing his crimes, often using disturbing language and symbolism. Despite his theatrics, he managed to live a seemingly normal life as a church council president, compliance officer, and family man. For over 3 decades, the case went cold. In 2004, BTK resurfaced, sending a floppy disk to police, which they traced back to Rader through hidden metadata. He was arrested in 2005 and confessed in shocking detail. His calm demeanor in court, paired with the horror of his crimes, stunned the public. Rader was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms with no possibility of parole. He remains imprisoned in Kansas. His case became a landmark in criminal profiling and forensic investigation history.